Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon, and with me, as always, is Caleb. And we are going to be talking about Jaws 3D today. But before we get to that, we're going to do like we always do. And Caleb, have you been watching anything cool?
I am slowly progressing. So last week was episode 1 of the Fallout series, and this week was the second episode.
Rock?
So I'm just with kind of how my weeks go, I think I'm gonna keep doing that. Usually I'm the type of person that likes to just binge and go through everything, but kind of works out nicely to just do one of those episodes a week. Um, I don't want to share much about it because I'm sure there are plenty of people that haven't watched it yet, but in the second episode, I had a conversation with my coworker about it. There is this, it's not really a plot hole, but it's like an element that for me doesn't ruin the show, but it just kind of like shatters the concept of the show,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like they clearly overlooked a detail. And I think it's kind of dumb. It's like one of those, it's okay. So I kind of would almost liken it to where you will hear people get into arguments about the Lord of the Rings, where it's just, well, why didn't the people carrying the ring just fly on the eagles and drop the ring in the volcano? Instead of
Yeah.
walking there and having the whole journey and everything, because it's a very valid argument. But then, of course, you wouldn't have the whole movie or the whole trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so there's something that happened in the second episode where I'm just like, you do realize a whole lot of things could have been solved with one real simple thing, and they just chose to ignore it. So I don't know. Maybe sometime if you watch it, I'll tell you, or maybe after some time or something, maybe I'll have a brief discussion on it. But it kind of
Okay.
it grinded my gears or shakes fists at the cloud. But yeah. Other than that, Bob's Burgers, good times. Nothing else new besides that.
Rock. Well, I'll get my two regulars out of the way. Wife and I are still watching Grey's Anatomy. I've been watching a lot of King of the Hill lately. I think I'm on like season 4, something like that. Sounds about right. I watched the latest Dark Side of the Ring episode. It was about Vince McMahon buying a whole bunch of the wrestling companies and all their talent. And when he purchased Georgia Championship Wrestling, it showed up on TBS, I think it was. And like how the people in the South like revolted because uh their wrestling was completely different than what WWF was, kind of thing. It was kind of interesting. I knew a little bit about it, but it wasn't as good as like the other installments of the series. I also watched The Roast of Tom Brady on Netflix. I didn't watch all of it. I watched probably about 2/3 of it. Dude, it's like 3.5 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you think that's long enough for a roast? I mean, an hour and a half would have been sufficient. There's some funny stuff in there. It was pretty funny seeing Will Ferrell come out dressed like Ron Burgundy and going off with roasting some of the people there and Tom Brady. It was pretty good. And man, not a very big week for me for watching stuff. The last thing I watched was Memorial Valley Massacre, which is a slasher movie from the late 80s. Uh, I watched it once before and I remember it being like more fun and like entertaining. And then like on my second watch, it was kind of dull. I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know how I remembered this movie wrong, but it's a little boring this time around. It's like this wild man like living out in the woods. It's almost like a caveman. Goes around killing like people that are at a campground on Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little ridiculous. I think one of the alternate titles was Son of Sleepaway Camp, which makes absolutely no sense. That was just trying to cash in on Sleepaway Camp.
Sure.
But yeah, I would not really recommend unless you're a slasher completist like me. But yeah, that's pretty much it, aside from watching Jaws 3 or Jaws 3D. But I guess we can dive right in. And I guess maybe dive right in was a weird segue, seeing that there might be sharks in the water. But let's talk about Jaws 3D. Jaws 3D is from 1983 and is directed by Joe Alves. The plot is a giant 30-foot shark becomes trapped in a SeaWorld theme park, and it's up to the sons of Police Chief Brody to rescue everyone. The cast, we got Dennis Quaid as Mike Brody, Bess Armstrong as Catherine Morgan, Sim, okay, this is a really strange word, her last name, McCorkindale as Philip Fitzroyce, Louis Gossett Jr. as Calvin Bouchard, John Putch as Sean Brody, Leah Thompson as Kelly Ann Bukowski, and P.H. Moriarty as Jack Tate. I think this is either the second or third time I've seen this movie all the way through.
Okay.
I'm sure it's probably a
This
first for you.
all the way through, yes. I actually watching it, um, have caught part of this movie on TV before because I do specifically remember the scenes with the, well, not the scenes, but some of the scenes with the underwater tunnel system
Yeah.
with the amazing graphics.
Yes. The groundbreaking special effects.
um,
This movie was part of a slew of 3D movies that came out at the time. We've actually already talked about one, and it was Friday the 13th, Part 3.
um,
They all came out in like within a 2 year span. I think I might have more about it in trivia and facts. Um, yeah, there's like a whole list that I can go through later on, but this was kind of notorious for being kind of bad. I will say that it's better than Part 4, which
okay.
is just completely asinine.
I will take your
Um,
word on that.
I'm not sure we're ever going to cover that one, but that one's got Michael Caine in it there for a paycheck.
Nice.
Um, he said he is known for saying that Jaws: The Revenge, aka Jaws 4, is a bad movie, but the house that he bought with it was nice. Uh, yeah, that one is like the shark goes after Brody's family, like travels to the Bahamas or something like that.
What?
Like it's out for vengeance. Like in that one, a shark is out for vengeance, and I believe it roars as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
Is
sharks don't make noise.
so who from the Brody family, like, do they have any repeat actors or
I don't think so. I think it's
okay.
like supposed to be Brody's wife or something like that.
Well, I mean, just from the standpoint, because I mean, it very so not that I don't think anyone else actually knows this. This is my first Jaws movie, so I got exposed to the best one, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I just I've seen the opening scene of Jaws, but I just like I don't know, I just like never watched the whole thing. I because my parents weren't really into those movies. Um, when it was popular when I was younger, my friends weren't really into those movies. So yeah, I just totally completely missed the train. But um I they did do a good job of making it very clear. I mean, it was a little cheesy and a little deliberate
Hmm.
how they're just like, "Oh yeah, we're the sons of the guy from the original movie."
Yeah. Our
Uh
dad fought the
our
first shark.
our pappy. Um, but yeah, it was just really kind of funny. And I don't know, I mean, obviously since you've seen this a few times, but it was a little confusing about how they caught the shark,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the shark because I was just like, okay, like, oh, they caught it and then it's gonna like wreak havoc and everything. And then you see them in the pool with the shark and you're like, wait a minute, that can't be right.
Yeah, it's not the same one. It's like a smaller one
Yeah, it's
where
like
they
there's
think
just
they got it, but then it ends up being like a bigger one.
yeah, and so it's actually a little bit funny because I didn't I don't know. It's funny because it's just like I don't know if it was successful in surprising me or just kind of such a dumb concept where it's just like, "Oh no, the really big shark came in and then it had a baby."
Yeah. So like there's a shark and then it kills people and then they think they caught it, but then there's like a bigger shark and it kills more people.
And it's called Even Bigger Jaws.
It's called Even Bigger Jaws. It was awesome. That's basically like the Chris Farley show is basically what this was. But I will say that my issue with it this time is I felt like this movie was a little boring at times. It's a little slow paced.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that too. Like it was a lot of development um content that wasn't exciting. And honestly, I am kind of shocked that Sea SeaWorld wanted to be a part of this.
Right?
Like it just I get how it's just like, oh, it's not real, like it's fine, but also at the same time, if you really want people to get into it, it sends a all around it just sends a bad message about SeaWorld.
Yeah, and I guess I never really thought about this, but I read something when I was doing some research on this that this movie has a lot of like similarities to one of the Creature from the Black Lagoon sequels. I
Okay.
believe it's The Creature Walks Among Us,
Okay.
where they capture the creature and he's on an exhibit at SeaWorld.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then he starts killing people, obviously.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the strong part about this movie is the plot. Like the idea that, like this man-eating shark can get inside this, basically zoo.
Mhm.
That's basically what SeaWorld is, I guess. I don't even, there's really not that many SeaWorlds that exist anymore. I know the only one I went to was in Cleveland, Ohio, and that's gone. Been gone for years. But
Mhm.
yeah, the whole idea of like the shark being loose in SeaWorld is kind of an interesting idea. And I guess it was a good place to take it because, the first Jaws is just like um this huge man-eating shark starts wreaking havoc in the small coastal town in New England.
Mhm.
And then like the second one's a little bit of the same thing. It's really similar to the first Jaws, which makes it like at least halfway decent. And then this one, they're kind of just like, let's take it up a step higher. And I'll give them that they would try to do like a little bit different with it because, killer shark movies are like a huge horror subgenre that I just don't understand.
Mhm.
To me, killer sharks aren't that scary because if you just don't go in the water, they can't get you,
Yeah.
except for the movie Sand Sharks,
Well,
which is
actually,
real.
it's really funny because you just talking about that whole thing made me think of first of all, how many Jaws movies are there? 4?
There's four. And then there's
Okay.
an Italian movie that is sometimes called Jaws 5 or Cruel Jaws.
It's
And that one's pretty terrible too. I think that might be on the list somewhere for an awesomely bad.
I kind of wish that somebody would make another Jaws movie just to make another Jaws movie and like up the quote unquote fear factor and call it Jaws Evolved and there's some like freak thing that happens where evolution takes place, like it kind of like Godzilla. Like some freak thing happens and then Godzilla mutates and
Yeah.
grows, where something freak happens and the shark mutates and grows legs and like an alligator, and it
Oh
can
my
go on
gosh.
land and kill people.
That probably exists.
It probably does. It sounds too good to not have been attempted.
But dude, there's a movie called Sharktopus.
Yes,
So
I do know about that.
yeah.
Not watched it,
So
but I
I
know that.
wouldn't be surprised if there was something like that.
Yeah. It either has to be that or it has to be something where you get the shark into space, because that has to happen.
Yeah. So um, there's a horror podcast I used to listen to like years ago, and they stopped doing it a while back. Um, it was called Slasher Cast,
Okay.
and they talked about what would be the most ridiculous movie you could make, and one of the guys said Moon Jaws. There's Jaws on the moon. So yeah, that's really the only place they have left to go after Sharknado.
Yeah.
Oh.
We should maybe, especially since Tommy Wiseau made a shark movie, we should maybe
Hmm.
have a shark month.
Yeah, we really should. There's definitely enough of them.
Yeah, do it. Oh, we'd have to coordinate with Shark Week. Release it the same month as Shark Week.
But Dad, it's Shark Week. Uh, there's no shortage of shark movies that we can watch, that's for sure. We still have to get our hands on that Tommy Wiseau Big Shark movie.
I know.
Can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's a part of this movie that kind of reminded me of the whole Titanic thing.
Okay.
The submersible. God, what was that called? Why can't I think of the name of it? It was only like a year ago.
Oh,
The Titan.
yeah, there we go, Titan.
The
Yep.
Titan submersible, yeah. The part where they go under the water and they're um I don't know, checking like the structure out or something. I don't remember. Uh
They were looking for that guy. They were trying to find that guy because they thought he may have died
oh
before they
yeah.
knew he was killed. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get some of the great special effects where they show like the submersible going by and it's obviously it's on a green screen and the green screen is reflecting onto the submersible, so we're like missing part of the ship.
Hmm.
Yeah, it looks oh my gosh. I've seen guys do green screen on YouTube better.
Yeah. That looked like the first time I tried doing something with the green screen.
It's like the first time I tried to chroma key something.
Oh my gosh,
It was just
yes.
horrible. I just wonder why is Dennis Quaid in this movie?
I know. I was kind of thinking that too. Like, I don't know exactly where this was in his career, but it just like when I saw that he was on, I was just like, that seems odd. It
It's
was kind
fairly early on in his career. Yeah, he doesn't really have very many like big roles before this. There's a movie of his, like a teen comedy movie called The Seniors. It's from 1978 that predates this. I've seen that before. If you want to know how good that movie is, let's just say I got that movie for $1 at Dollar Tree, and
of.
it came in a paper folder. It wasn't even in a plastic box. Um, yeah, really, I can't think of anything else. He went on after this to have uh, bigger roles, obviously.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny to see Leah Thompson,
Yeah,
because I know I'm not an idiot to think like someone's only in one movie, but that's one person that I feel like I've only seen in Back to the Future.
she
And
was in all the
so,
right moves.
oh
We
yeah,
watched that.
fair point.
She was
Um,
your boy Tom Cruise's girlfriend,
yeah, yeah. But it just seems so random to see her in another movie.
right?
And
Dude,
this is,
she was in another movie that we reviewed too. She was in Some Kind of Wonderful.
oh my gosh. Well,
So she's
part
been
of
in a
the
lot. You just remember her from Back to the Future.
Yeah, well, here's part of the thing though too is of course those have been more recent movies for me to see, but also like not popular like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of like obscure stuff. Not saying that she's not a good actress or anything like that, but it's just like I don't know. I feel like Back to the Future was one of those really early movie memories too, so it's kind of
Right.
like seared into your brain.
So there's a fair amount of goofy stuff in this. I mentioned the bad special effects on the submersible. But then the dolphins come and save Dennis Quaid
Yeah.
and his girlfriend or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, they grab the fin and like the dolphins are swimming off and the shark is chasing after them. Like, oh my gosh, this is just ridiculous.
Well, also then they chose for that to be the end of the movie too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, are the dolphins okay? Yeah, they're okay. All right. Forget the
Yeah.
fact that a few people died. And
Right. As long as
also,
those dolphins are okay.
one of the funnier things, like whenever we get into the, the horror movies, there's the of course the trope that the black person always has to die.
Yeah, Louis Gossett.
Yeah, and so it
Rest in
was
peace,
getting
by the way. He died not too long ago.
oh, okay. I was not aware of that, but um this movie was getting so close to the end and I was like, "Oh wow, like cuz there was that of obviously there was the main guy who was the park owner or I don't know what it was exactly, but then what was it, his nephew or something? And I was like, "Oh wow, like they didn't fall into the basic horror movie trope." And then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose and the one guy dies right away. I was like, "Oh, never mind, never mind."
Yeah. Yeah, Louis Gossett Jr. was the one that was in the tunnel with them when the shark swims into the glass.
Hmm.
Oh man, that's so horrible.
Well, I think did he did he survive? I feel like he survived, but his nephew was the one who died.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
Yeah, but
Um,
one of them died, and it was just like, oh, never mind.
yeah. Um, oh, right after they get away from the shark with the dolphins, there's like a slam up against the cage door, and I think it's Dennis Quaid that says, "What is that?" It's like it was a shark, you idiot. You know, the big thing that was chasing you. And then they have the idea of having a we can be it's like no one has a great white in captivity. Like there's none in the world. It's like we could be that first park to have it. And this is kind of when Dennis Quaid talks about too, like how his uh dad almost died fighting that shark in the first movie, and like great whites are murderers. Oh gosh.
Well, then, like the thing that I love too is that they wind up, of course, um, the park owner guy wants to push the shark on display right away, which is really dumb because if I'm not mistaken, it's not even open yet.
Yeah.
Like it was just the soft opening with specific people invited. Um, and so he pushes to have it on display, but then puts in a tiny tank where someone could easily fall in.
With a great white shark, which is
Yeah,
the murderer.
it's like it was like a petting tank. Like you could reach over and put your arm in.
Oh my gosh.
And then
That's when the baby shark dies. Do 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 do.
Nice. The one thing that I had down because I don't know if we're still kind of on it, but just like some really dumb, silly elements to this movie. Of course, we're talking about Mike Brody and his brother with their experience with their dad, but of course, Mike's brother, Sean, has trauma with the whole shark experience as a kid and
Yeah.
doesn't want to get in the water, but Leah Thompson's character convinces him to start getting back in the water, and then of course the shark avoids all the other people
It goes for him.
but goes for him.
It probably had that vendetta that it has in part four.
Yep, it had a grudge.
They killed his dad.
We know too much.
Now he will kill their son.
This summer, Arnold Schwarzenegger is Big Shark.
Jaws 3 with a vengeance. Oh man. I'd say probably the most tense parts. There's really not much tension in this movie, I don't feel like. And that's where it really lacks that like the first one really did well. I mean, you're going from having Steven Spielberg be the director and complete creator of the first movie to I don't know who Joe Elves is off the top of my head. I'm sure he's done more and better than this, but going to really any other director after Spielberg's a step down.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, there's really not much tension other than like those underwater tunnel things, which just looked like butt anyway because the set work was so bad.
Mhm.
And they're, trying to, they got like a whole bunch of people stuck in them because they had to shut the park down because that giant shark got in.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the cooler scenes is when the shark goes after the water skiers.
Yep. No, I mean
Yeah.
they had some kind of like interesting elements and everything, but yeah, it definitely did not um I don't know, it just didn't feel like a super scary movie like you were kind of saying. By the way, Jaws 3D was the only movie this guy
I
directed.
was just gonna say that.
So
He he was the production designer in Jaws and Jaws 2 and Close Encounters
yeah.
and Escape from New York and Starman. So like he's worked with Spielberg and John Carpenter multiple
Mhm.
times.
But didn't really translate too great for him. But
Yeah.
um yeah, I don't know, it just as you kind of said too, with the combination of it feeling slow and just like not a lot going on, it was like because what was do you have a body count for this movie?
No, I don't.
Because it was, I want to say like just a few. Because even
And there was
then,
only like two in Critters.
true.
But Critters was a little more fun than this movie
Yeah,
because at
definitely.
least it, was entertaining most of the time.
Hmm. So this was, it's kind of weird because I was thinking about it while I was watching it, where I was just like, it's, it's not really awesome. It's more of a cheesy bad of the special effects. Because
Yeah.
like basically every time they were trying to do something 3D, it was a dead giveaway.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
from them pointing things at the screen or just the way the coloring was on the image when they did it, like you could
Yeah,
tell.
blue background and like red things flying at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a cheesy element, and then it just I don't know, didn't really have much substance. So more on the bad side than anything. The acting was one thing that wasn't awful. It
Yeah, they,
wasn't
they had a good
great.
cast. I mean, they had Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. and Leah Thompson.
Yeah,
Like they're all pretty decent actors.
even that Simon McCorkindale, McCorkindale,
Yeah.
whatever it was. I mean, like he did fine with his character. Uh, Beth Armstrong did pretty good, so there wasn't anything. The definitely the cheesiest thing was Dennis Quaid's brother, Sean Brody, and trying to like put him because that was definitely one element that I think contributed to the whole idea of them trying to cram him so much stuff to uh develop the story or build up the story or get you to like trying to connect with characters was his brother and his little fling with Leah Thompson,
Yeah.
where it's just like, oh, all of a sudden they're thing. Oh, they're hanging out. Oh, like we could really care less if one of them lives or dies, except for the fact that you might have a connection with Leah Thompson from Back to the Future.
Yeah, well, this is before Back to the Future.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't even
Back to
think
the
about
Future
that.
was like 85. This is 83.
Yeah.
Also, you said Simon McCorkindale. Why did I say his name was Sim McCorkindale?
I think you were in the middle of saying it and then you stopped to think about the last name.
No, I noticed in my notes I only had Sim, so I must have been when I was typing it out, I got distracted by something. Who knows? Well, his name is Simon, so it makes better sense.
Yeah.
Uh, so you talked about things flying at the screen. What about the ending where the shark blows up
Oh yeah.
and like the pieces of shark come flying at the screen and like his top jaw and bottom jaw are like spinning around until they get to the screen and then they like form perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like, get it? Jaws, get it? Get it? It's Jaws.
Ah, they did it.
Ah, they showed it. And there was three pieces. Oh my God.
Actually,
That
I did
just
not.
dawned on me.
I was just gonna say I did not notice how many pieces there were, but if that's true, that's pretty funny.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. So it was bad. It had some quirky things in it that were a little bit charming, like the bad special effects. And I've already mentioned the part where the shark like swims up to the glass and breaks through the glass. And it's hilarious because the shark's still probably like 10 feet away from the glass when it breaks.
Yeah.
Like that, it just wasn't a very good effect. I mean, even the title screen from Friday the 13th was more believable,
Hmm.
where the words Friday the 13th break through the glass.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I'd s- yeah, just a slower paced movie, and I felt like it could have had some more interesting stuff in it. And I guess I just like bad shark movies when they just go like batshit crazy, like something like Sharknado. Like let's just do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, just lean
Or
into
even
it.
like the Piranha movies, like those terrible Piranha 3D, Piranha 3 Double D. Like those were stupid and fun, and like they did some crazy stuff in it. So I guess I kind of wanted that from Jaws 3D. Anything else you want me to get into trivia and facts?
I didn't really have anything else of substance, so
Okay. So the first thing I got is according to the book, Roy Scheider, a film biography in 2002 by Diane C. Kakmar and um, Scheider, who starred in the first two Jaws movies. He once said that no one could talk me into doing Jaws 3D. Uh, they knew better than to even ask. Reportedly, Scheider agreed to make the movie Blue Thunder in order to ensure that he was definitely contractually unavailable for this movie. He had made Jaws 2 reluctantly due to the contract issues with Universal Pictures, whereby he owed the studio two films after withdrawing from The Deer Hunter. I bet you wish he would have made The Deer Hunter.
yeah, no kidding.
Um, but to get out of this situation, he had to do Jaws 2, a movie on which he didn't want to work in exchange for a studio releasing him from his contract.
Mm.
The filmmakers initially planned to have very few of the quote unquote pop out effects, where objects extend beyond the screen in 3D. Studio executives ultimately pressured them into including more, worried that the audience would leave disappointed and spread bad word of mouth and if the 3D were used mainly for depth.
Okay.
David Brown and Richard D. Zanuck were producers of the first two films, originally pitched this as a spoof based on a suggestion by Maddie Simmons and John Hughes. And it was gonna be titled National Lampoon's Jaws 3 People Zero.
What?
It was gonna be about a studio trying to make a sequel to Jaws. Um, it opened with an author, Peter Benchley, being eaten in his pool by a shark. and a naked Bo Derek and shark costumed aliens.
Oh
Joe
my
Dante was
gosh.
attached as the director. Steven Spielberg rejected the idea and threatened to walk from his deal with Universal. When Zanuck and Brown learned of the rejection, they quit the studio.
D- That's intense. That's a lot to
It's a lot to take in.
yeah.
Uh, in a later interview, Dennis Quaid referred to this movie as "I was in Jaws." What? This is actually Leah Thompson's film debut.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. The shark is said to be 35 feet long, despite the budgetary restraint keeping the film from providing a true sense of scale for the creature. 10 feet longer than the previous films.
Mm.
In an interview from 2015, Dennis Quaid said that during the filming of Jaws 3D, he was aggressively using cocaine and that every frame he appeared in, he was probably high.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Jennifer Jason Leigh auditioned for the role of Kelly Ann Bukowski.
Hmm.
So this movie was part of an early to mid 80s cycle of 3D movies. These movies included Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin, Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin, Jaws 3D, Parasite, Amityville 3D, The Man Who Wasn't There, Silent Madness, which is an obscure slasher movie to get a 3D release, Dogs of Hell, Coming at Ya, Friday the 13th Part 3, Space Hunter, The Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, and Treasure of the Four Crowns.
Amazing. All
Yeah, that was
those are
all
amazing
between
titles.
1981 and 1985.
Gosh.
Yeah. So this is the directorial debut and last directorial job of Joe Alves. And the last thing I got is this movie cost $20 million and it made 87 in the box office. It's that
Okay then.
3D, man. Put 3D on it. 3D Jaws and people will go see it.
Just put Jaws on it and that'll do it.
Yep, that'll do, pig. That'll do, shark. So grades. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, what are they?
Oh man, IMDb. Mm, 4.5.
3.7.
Wow, Hard Ticket to Hawaii did better.
Rotten
Um,
Tomatoes?
Critic, let's do 27.
11.
Oh dang. Okay. Audience 18.
17, you were close.
Ooh, dang. Okay. Who did you go first last time? Did I go first last time?
Dude, I can never remember.
All right. I think maybe you did. I'll just dive into
Rock.
it. Um, man, yeah, just not a lot of substance. Not your typical awesomely bad movie. I know that Critters last time we were kind of giving a little bit more credit to, where it was just kind of like a a decent movie all in all itself. It wasn't really like so bad. It was funny, but this one just, I don't know, not a lot of substance to it. Nothing that really drew you in. I mean, a little bit of a different concept, but um a lot of downtime. Like I said, cheesy concept with the whole like, oh, the shark had a baby and it's still in here. Um, so nothing that would really draw me back to it for watchability. Um, man, I think, hmm, I honestly kind of think that man, it's kind of tough because part of me is just like, it wasn't horrible, you know. but it just wasn't good. So I think that I'm gonna find myself giving it a 1.5.
Okay.
I don't know. I was kind of between that and a 2 where I was just like, is it really that bad? Because again, like I said, it's not horrible. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It exists. And
Yeah.
that's the best I can give you.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I ended up giving it a 2 just
Okay.
because it does have some charming things to it. Um, I think the plot is really good. I just think it was executed poorly. I'm not sure it needs to even be 3D. Like it should have just been like a shark is somehow loose in SeaWorld. And they could have had it like attacking other animals and stuff, you know.
Yeah. They didn't have much. They could have maybe capitalized on that more.
They could have went like total kaiju movie and just had it like start fighting with a killer whale. It's like
Yeah.
Jaws versus Shamu, and leaned more into the corny aspect. I think that would have been better. But yeah, I think a 2 is fairly solid for it. I'm not sure how many times I'll go back and watch this one, but yeah.
Yep. It's kind of like it is what it is.
Oh yeah. So, next week we're gonna be talking about a movie that really leans heavy into just being wacky. It's a really interesting movie. It is Brain Damage. It is directed by Frank Henenlotter, who some of you might know from the movie Basket Case. He also directed that one. He also directed a movie called Frankenhooker, so you know exactly what you're getting. But it's a pretty fun movie. I've seen it, I believe, once or twice, and I don't know. I just remember it being a good time and just so goofy and off the wall that it's just entertaining. But yeah, kind of looking forward to watching that one again. But before we go, please, if you're liking the show, leave a review and share it. Uh, let us know what you're thinking. You can follow us on social media. We're on pretty much every platform. We're getting lots of content out now. We're getting quite a bit of stuff on YouTube via Shorts and on TikTok. Also, Facebook and Instagram too. You can follow us there. We're getting lots of stuff out there. And we're fairly active on Twitter as well. But if you guys are liking the awesomely bad horror stuff, come by next week. We're going to be talking about Brain Damage. It's a pretty fun movie. But until then, as always, be kind and rewind.